Welcome everyone to Things Around 8. Dear friends, in this video we will talk about the violent protests in Bangladesh, which culminated in the flight of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. But what is really happening in the country? And what could be its fate in the short and medium term? And if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe now and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any news. On Monday, August 5th, the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, in power for almost 15 years, resigned from her post and fled the country, taking refuge in neighboring India, amid extremely violent protests that are plunging the country into complete chaos. But what exactly is happening in Bangladesh, and what can we expect in the coming days and weeks? To understand what is happening now, we have to go back to August 1947, when the British Empire in India was divided into two nations, India for the Hindu population and Pakistan for the Muslim population. In the case of Pakistan, since there was a large Muslim population in the eastern part of the former British territory, it was decided that the new country would be divided into two, West Pakistan and East Pakistan. This division led to the growth of long-standing separatist movements in the eastern part of Pakistan. Many laws and measures taken by West Pakistan, more than 1,500 kilometers away, were seen as a kind of colonialist imposition. In addition, East Pakistan generated about 70% of export revenues, but the region received less than a quarter of the benefits shared by West Pakistan, thus contributing to further strengthening the separatist movements in that region. And it was in this environment of great discontent that Sheikh Mujibur Rahman began to stand out, a politician who managed to unite the various separatist movements in the region. In response to the strengthening of these movements, the military junta that ruled West Pakistan launched Operation Alifat in March 1971, which led to the brutal and horrific genocide in Bangladesh, in which it is estimated that up to 3 million people were executed by West Pakistani forces. In the face of this horrific attack, the separatist forces of East Pakistan, led by the Mukti Bahin guerrilla movement, launched the Bangladesh Liberation War, which lasted 8.5 months and left around 30,000 military casualties. On December 16, 1971, West Pakistan, its forces exhausted, surrendered unconditionally, paving the way for the birth of Bangladesh, with Sheikh Mujibur Rahman taking office as Prime Minister of the newly formed country in January 1972. Rahman's political work, crucial to the unification and strengthening of a single independence movement, earned him the title of the Father of Bangladesh. In January 1975, he won the presidential election. But shortly afterwards, in August of that same year, he was assassinated in a military coup, with most of his family being executed by the coup plotters. However, his daughter, Sheikh Hasina, then 27 years old, survived, as she was visiting from Europe, and went into exile in India. Hasina devoted herself fully to the fight against the military dictatorship in Bangladesh, founding the Awami League in 1981, the same year she returned to Bangladesh, where the military arrested her numerous times. Many coups, counter-coups and assassinations of important leaders and politicians followed. The situation began to stabilize slightly from 1996, the year in which Sheikh Hasina was elected Prime Minister. In 2001, she was defeated in the elections and became the leader of the opposition. In 2004, she was nearly assassinated, and between 2006 and 2008, during a period of military intervention, she was imprisoned. She returned to the political scene in 2009, when she won the elections and once again assumed the post of Prime Minister. This began a rare period of relative peace and order that paved the way for the country's impressive economic growth. However, all this economic growth was accompanied by serious corruption scandals, with Sheikh Hasina also being accused of acting with increasing force and brutality against the opposition, including the arrest of opponents, the blocking of independent news sites, and the approval of a digital security law that prohibits the population from criticizing their government, under penalty of fines and imprisonment. All this led to accusations of suppression of freedom of expression. Sheikh Hasina, who survived 15 assassination attempts and dedicated her life to fighting the dictatorship, was, according to her critics, slowly becoming what she had fought so hard against. The final straw came in July 2024, when she announced the reform of the quota law, which promised to reserve 30% of public service vacancies for descendants of the Mukti Bahin guerrilla group, which, as I said earlier, was responsible for the armed struggle that gave Bangladesh its long-awaited independence in 1971. The protests against the quota law began in universities, but quickly spread to other sectors of society, but became more radical and out of control after the police responded to the protests with extreme brutality, leaving more than 300 dead. With the country plunged into chaos and the streets filled with protesters, Razina further tightened the measures, imposing a nationwide curfew, cutting off internet access in some areas and authorizing the police to act with even greater severity and brutality. There have also been many reported cases of persecution and attacks against the Hindu minority living in the country, with several confirmed cases of Hindu homes and temples being attacked and vandalized by the majority Muslim population. And so, on Monday, August 5th, with the country on the brink of collapse, Sheikh Hasina fled Bangladesh, going into exile in India, with Bangladeshi President Mohammad Shahabuddin dissolving parliament and beginning talks to form a new interim government. Despite her increasingly authoritarian and autocratic style, Sheikh Hasina was the main person responsible for the country's great economic growth in recent years, with her fall raising doubts about the country's economic future, but mainly doubts regarding democracy in a country marked, throughout its sad history, by wars, genocides and successive coups d'état. And if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe now and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any news.